West Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't understand why this is an
agree with
issue.
that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
Coffee, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
10 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Monday, October 6, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Bill, she's back.
Yes, she is. She rescues me from my dumbassery an early Monday morning, and I pushed the wrong button and disconnected Marie, our 80-year-old listener and caller that was talking to us about the bus line. I'm so sorry.
Please
Marie.
continue,
Yeah,
Marie.
please
Thank you
continue.
for dialing back in.
Yes, thank you so much for dialing back in and saving me. Now, you were talking to us about bus line number 3, of which you are a somewhat frequent rider, and how it changes based on the time of the day. For those that aren't familiar with the bus ride, she's riding Route 3. That's the Alameda Avenue line. That's where that one rolls.
And it goes from Aurora all the way to Lakewood.
Yeah, it rolls all the way through the artery.
Yeah.
Okay, continue. Sorry. And I'm going to try not to cut you off because I'm pushed the wrong button.
Well, I get cut off all the time. Not by you guys, but,
oh, good.
Also, they now have children up to young people up to the age of 19 ride free. One of the questions I think we need to know is, has attendance increased in schools? Because that would really be important. And then the other thing is, where is attendance down, and giving us an idea of exactly what the picture is. It's hard to make a decision or to really discuss it when we need more facts. But yeah, and people in the morning ride the bus to work and kids ride it to school, and it's crowded. And then during the day, it's almost an empty bus. And then it becomes it's so much so that they even have a special bus, buses that run in the afternoon that are just don't have as many stops because they're dealing with people coming from work, so that there are things to accommodate. And I don't know where the ridership is down, and whether or not before they put like some lines into the suburbs, whether or not those are being used or not. I think we need more information. Like most of the problems that we have, we need to know more about it before we can make the decision.
I like what you're saying, Maureen. I got a question for you. Just based on your average ridership, and understanding this is anecdotal, do you feel that RTD is responsive to the needs of their riders? You talked about the express bus that's there, and they do run that in the afternoon and evenings, not necessarily in the morning. I mean, just based on your daily ridership or your infrequent or frequent use, do you feel that RTD is responsive to the needs of their traditional riders?
Absolutely.
Really? Okay, how do you come to that conclusion? Help me understand, because Jeff and I are outside of that bubble, and so what gives you that reasoning? Yeah.
They just wait. If they're a little bit. The number 3, you can set your clock by. It's almost like the train station. The trains used to be in the morning, but they welcome us on. They give us time. Sometimes people need the ramp down. And I have never seen crime on the bus.
Interesting.
Maybe I'm missing it, but yeah. And it really takes us to Cherry Creek or the mall, which is a big help. And then it also you can go downtown. You can get to there are some real. I used to ride it when I worked in North Denver, and that. So anyway, I agree that it's cost a lot of money and that the security issue is real. But we need more information, and it shouldn't be and also. Jeff, there are charities that offer rides to people. Okay?
Great. That's good.
there's a lot going on. It's just not meeting the need, but first we have to decide what the need is.
That's a great one, and thanks for the call, and thanks for calling back, Maria. I like that because, yeah, we don't know what the need is, and I do think you've hit on something that RTD doesn't necessarily share openly, or they're not easily accessible, some of those ridership numbers. And I appreciate that because I know the 3 very well, the Alameda line. I used to spend a lot of time riding the 3. The lines, just to see anybody out there in the listening audience, I'm incredibly familiar and spend a lot of times on the 3, the 10, the 15, and the 24. Those are the ones that I would ride a lot in and around everywhere. So I know those rides a lot. Thank you so much for the call, Marie. It's nice to hear the 3 is still efficient. It was back when
Marie,
I was a kid.
make sure you stick around because Bill will now be your personal valet in light of hanging up on you earlier.
I'm so sorry. I owe you at least one ride for free.
A little Catholic guilt will go
I
a
have so much
long
guilt right
way.
now. I have so much guilt right now for doing that.
All right, Neil, we'll get to you next. First is News and Comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, News and Comment.
Good morning. 44 and cloudy outside as you listen to the Jeff and Bill Show right here in Denver. Expecting a high of only 58 today. This portion of the news sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, Englewood police had to shoot a suspect late last night at a Denny's. For the love of God. This guy allegedly charged and stabbed another officer. That was horrible. And then police responded. He pulled out a knife again, mess around and find out, and he's in the hospital this morning. Investigation underway. A federal judge has issued a temporary restraining order barring the 47th administration from sending members of the federalized National Guard to Portland. Portland. What a dump right now in many sections of the city. Despite chaos, troops getting things done in Chicago, but it is ugly. Thanks to the chaos party, the partial government shutdown drags on.
Taking place right now, and it's all because of the Democrats. The Democrats are causing the loss of a lot of jobs with their, it's a shutdown. It's their shutdown, not our shutdown. It's their shutdown.
The partial government shutdown drags on. House Democrats will meet virtually today to discuss the matter with National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett, warning layoffs could be coming as the impasse continues. Not for the Navy, though, as DJT spoke to them on Sunday in Norfolk.
We will get our service members every last penny. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Do not worry about it. It's all coming. It's coming. And even more because I'm supporting the across-the-board pay raises for every sailor and service member of the United States Armed Forces. But we have to take care of this little gnat that's on our shoulder called the Democrats. They want to give all of our money to illegal aliens that pour into the country. And, you know, I have a bigger heart than they do. But the problem is when you do that, they come in by the millions. Everybody wants that, so you can't do it.
Yep, can't do it. And then after the speech in front of the sailors, thousands of them, he did the DJT dance. Oh, and they loved it. They loved it. That was an awesome scene in Norfolk. And House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, Dollar Store Obama, is out with a warning of his own, saying people will die if the Affordable Care Act tax credits are not renewed in the government funding stopgap bill. The Broncos were down 14 and then fought back in the fourth quarter against the reigning Super Bowl champions on the road in Philly against the Eagles. Nick Bonito, 2.5 sacks, and got help from his teammates. 6 total by the Broncos D.
Here they come. They got him from behind. That is McMillan, who comes up from the secondary to get the sack, the 5th of the game for the Denver defense.
Yes, and Bo Nix, 24 of 39, 242 yards, touchdown. Also, J.K. Dobbins, 79 yards and a TD. Cortland Sutton, 8 catches, 99 yards. They cut it to 1 on this play.
Denver's longest play of the day, 34 yards. Back they go to Ingram, balanced and dives. Touchdown, Denver. Evan Ingram.
Beautiful play. And then the 2-point conversion. They needed this to take the lead.
Here's the rollout, the throw, it's there. And the Broncos have taken the lead. That was Franklin on the receiving end.
Yes, it was 21-17, the victory in the final. Sean Payton after the game.
You don't get a chance to play in these games that have a ton of upside. Now, don't get me wrong, there's downside, but there's a ton of upside relative to defining like what you become, and this is one of them. I think they were confident coming in.
Huge win for the Broncos. The Patriots beat the Bills last night late. Some other interesting games at home. Home teams didn't fare well in the NFL on Sunday. 47 says that he thinks hostages held since October 7th, 2023, after the attacks on Israel will start to be freed very soon. Both Israel and Hamas have indicated support for Trump's 20-point proposal to end the war in Gaza, but with conditions that still need to be negotiated. Don Lemon, man on the street in New York. Little shocked by this New Yorker, likes what DJT and ICE are doing.
That, I mean, don't hurt nobody. At the same time, get them out of here. Get them all out of here. Please and thank you. Trump 4 more years for that.
Did you
just for that. Just
did
for
you
that.
vote for him?
No, hell no. I can't vote. I lost my voting rights when I was 22 years old. I apologize.
You went away?
Yeah, for assault and battery.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you said 4 more years for Trump?
Just because I want him to concentrate on nothing but immigration.
Get all the illegal people who shouldn't be here and the criminals out of here. That's what he says. 9 months after the fires in Southern Cal, Adam Carolla, great points.
No construction, zero construction, no forms, no form ties, no 1x6, no headers, no king studs, no trimmers, no womanized bottom plates, no J-bolts, no Joyce hangers, no HDs, no Simpson straps, no Tico clips, no...
Eric Lewis of Denali Supply has to love that, and all the construction guys out there. That is awesome. 42 in Aurora, 43 in Littleton, 44 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue.
OSB, no CDX half-inch, good one side struck one, no oriented strand board, no ridge rafters.
Oh, those are great.
If it was Oklahoma, those neighborhoods that would have all been rebuilt by now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And much nicer.
Yes.
It would have been great structures. Absolutely.
The left cannot build anything.
No. That's
By the
right.
way, did you see Mike Johnston opening the 16th Street over the weekend?
I did not see that.
Yeah, he did.
16th Street, did they change the signs?
Yes, they did.
Did they?
Just a reminder, the city of Denver paid $25,000 a letter to remove mall from its branding. But, yeah, they had this like little they opened a door, and Mayor Mikey's jumping around and having a good old time. And it's now, how many years overdue? How many millions of dollars overdue?
Wow, I did not see
16th Street.
16th Street, man, it's going to change things. It's going to be awesome.
I don't know. I wandered around down there, and like all the buildings are empty, so they put art up to try to make it not look as terrible.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. It's so shady.
That's so sad, man.
It is.
So awesome. It was so awesome 20 years ago, 15 years ago. Even 10, I guess. You could even say 10 years ago.
We used to host a big event down there, the Western Conservative Summit.
I remember.
About 2,000-3,000 people some years got real big. Donald Trump came to be a part of it. And people would go out at night and go out to dinner and had a good time. The last year I hosted it down there, we could hardly get anybody to show up.
Yep.
And the people that did come said, if you ever host us downtown again, we're never going to join you.
That's amazing.
It smells like urine down here. It doesn't feel safe. We don't want to go out. And so we stopped hosting it downtown. We watched that change in real life, and it was
So
heartbreaking.
bad.
So yeah, Democrats, they can't build anything. And Palisades, sitting there.
Yeah,
And if this
exactly.
was Oklahoma, all those homes would have been brand new, done, bigger, better than ever.
Yep.
Some country boys on it.
You're right, man. I'm gonna send it back to you guys.
No paralambs, no sublambs.
Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Phone lines red hot, which is just the way we like it here on the Jeff and Bill Show. Let's go to Neil in Wheat Ride. What's up,
Nice.
Neil? You're on with Jeff and Bill.
How are you, Neil?
I wonder how much they'll spend to change Wheat Ridge's name. You said $25,000 to remove the word mall.
$25,000 per letter. The city of Denver spent $100,000 on a branding company. I think it was out of London. And after spending $100,000, they came back with just remove the word mall. So it basically worked out to $25,000 a letter.
Well, that explains the 500 plus million for RTD. They want to spell it out. No, you can put. It doesn't matter if you go diesel or electric or Flintstones feet. You know, it's not going to draw on ridership. I told Billy earlier, I drove for RTD from 93 to 98, and 30% of the routes that existed then were required to be privatized, and it didn't matter if it was the RTD or the others that existed. I never had a full load unless I was doing a ride down a Rockies ride or something like that. But I never had
got a
full
question
buses.
for you. Neil, got a question for you. So if you never had a full bus, the question I've gotten, Jeff and I have been kind of kicking this around this morning, is this an inefficiency of the routes or an inefficiency of the model? And what I mean by that is, do you think that the routes that you used to drive, do you view them as being unnecessary, or should it change the times in which they run? Maybe just morning drive, afternoon drive, nothing in the middle of the day? Or would it have been more efficient to, say, put you in a smaller bus and have a smaller bus run more often? The idea is, if that bus that you're rolling in, if it's 1/3 of the size, it's again 1/3 of the necessary cost per se. And would that make it more efficient? I mean, if you were given the Jeff and Bill magic wand, what changes would you want to advocate to make it better?
Well, I drove routes like what you talked about. You said you rode the 3. I drove the 3.
Yeah, and that's a busy one at times,
Yeah, I drove the 0, the 31, which was
0.
federal.
Yeah, I read the 31 too. Had to ride the 31 up to school. Yeah, the 31 and the 0. Yeah, man, you're bringing back
Yeah,
memories.
so don't date me. Anyway, I drove a lot. I drove a lot of the main ones. Some of these ancillary type of routes that, like the 72, which are across town from, say, Arvada across through Westminster and all, and some of those, they just didn't fill up. But I could see smaller buses. I don't know if it's making them more often, because again, your morning and late day traffic were where the riders were going, but during the day, just like the middle of the day, I don't see that there was. I don't remember there being that much in the way of major ridership going on.
Neil, I appreciate your perspective, especially working with RTD. Here's the question I want to ask you. We have had innovation brought to transportation in Colorado. For instance, Uber, Lyft, you have these little scooters. A lot of the things we all use that improved our lives have come via market solutions, not government subsidies. So my question to you is, we're on the cusp of a total revolution in transportation with Waymo and robot-designed cars. I've driven in a Waymo. I took the RTD light rail last week down to the football game. We're on the cusp of a major change in transportation. Should we be buying diesel buses for $40 million, or should the government go, hey, let's see what innovation can do here, and maybe it's personal ride services by robot taxis? Your thoughts?
I don't see throwing good money after bad as going to doing good as far as trying to change what buses are out there, what the fuel is, or anything like that. I think allowing for the free market sector to start getting involved in trying to create ideas that work. I'm not an inventor or anything like that, but there are a lot of smart people out there that if they were given the opportunity, the grants, the studies, and to be able to just allow for free market to take place, I think you could see quite a change in what comes to be.
Neil, I appreciate the call. I really appreciate your experience,
thanks,
man. We love it when people who actually have knowledge on what we're talking about call in.
Yeah, I'm curious if he was rolling the 31, which goes up down Federal. If he was doing that one, I might have been on that bus. I mean, there may have been a time in that era I might have been on one of those.
Sit
buses.
down, young
That's
man.
cool.
You're in the guy in the back just going bing, 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 pulling down the little.
Actually, no, I wasn't. I would be the kid that I'm dragging, like either a trumpet or a bunch of soccer gear on there, and then hanging, and then having to roll through. Yeah, I was taking up way too much space. That was the problem I had.
Man, your parents were next level to just be like, yeah, go ahead and ride RTD.
Dude, you have no idea. Okay, here's the thing. Here's how free range I was as a child.
Seriously?
And it's Mom. I have friends of both my brother and I that joke that we're probably one of the two people they know where you could drop us into a completely and totally unfamiliar city and tell us get to here by 9 o'clock at night, and we'd figure out how to do it just because of how free range we were. I used to ride the bus from school, and it was one bus. I could take two, but I would walk the second one because I didn't want to wait for the second bus to go from school to the park where I had soccer practice. Then I would sit in a park alone for several hours. Alone in a park for several hours until soccer practice started. So I was sitting there, oftentimes practicing my trumpet or doing homework in the middle of a park. Alone.
And you're better because of it.
Yes.
Look how self-sufficient you are.
Better.
You're the Jason Bourne of Denver.
There's the thing. I did. I went around all sorts of different places. I mean, it's just, that was just, I wasn't.
Did you ever have, I have to wonder about this with our kids too.
Yeah.
I think part of developing as a kid is like learning when to get out of bad situations.
Oh, absolutely.
And you only really do that by being exposed to it, right? Like your spidey sense goes up, and so you're like, I got to get out of here. So did you as a kid ever run into those situations where you're like...
lots of it. And you learned. In fact, my kids view it as a superpower that I have right now that will be in public, and I'll point out people. I'm like, watch that person. Watch that person.
Yeah.
They're like, what? I'm like, I can see it. There's just something there. And I think I've told the story before on the air, where I'm walking into one of the, and this is a grocery store probably a couple of years ago here in town. And I walk in, and I've got one of the kids with me, and I turn, I'm like, watch that guy in front of us. He's up to something no good. I'm like, what? And like, something's going to happen. And sure enough, goes over to the beer aisle, takes a case of beer, and runs out the door. And they're like, what? How did you know? And I'm like, I just knew it. There was something there when he's walking in that, again, all those people, and I have nothing close to those people in law
We're
enforcement.
going to meet him out back and share a few,
yeah,
Pops.
It's the idea that you know it. Yeah, you begin to understand and you see it. I had a guy that suffered from mental illness when I was rolling downtown every day going to high school, and you'd stop and I was down there for 45 minutes, and you could tell, but you had to learn when he was having good days and bad days, because he used to pace back and forth the entire block in front of where the stops were, and there were a number of buses that would come to here, but you had to learn to recognize when he was having a good day or a bad day, because that was exactly how much interaction you had to have.
I think it's kind of fascinating how much we've changed on all this.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I used to ride up and down Broadway all the time. There was a video game store called Buyback Games.
Oh, yeah, I know
and me
Buyback,
and my
yeah.
buddy would ride to Buyback.
Yep.
Like straight up and down Broadway. The idea that I'd let my kids ride their bikes up and down Broadway right now?
Oh, yeah.
It's great. Do you think you're more protective of your kids than
I am.
your parents were of you?
And I think that's a little bit of a problem. I wish that we weren't, but I think it is the day and age that we live in, that things are a little more dangerous than they were back then. The other part, though, is that we're hyper-connected, that I didn't have a cell phone. And so, so I never had that connection. So there were times in which I was in a place where it's like rainy or cold or something else, and I needed a ride, and you had to figure out how to get home. And so there were those points, and we shared it a couple of weeks ago on the show, that there was a point in a young guy's life where you were out riding your bikes and you were several miles away from your house, and one of your friends takes a tumble, and that knee is really bleeding.
Yeah,
and
right.
You've got to figure out how to get it
Put
back
leaves
home.
on it.
Yes, plus the chain is off the bike. Yeah, God forbid, though, one of the tires is bent or popped. Then you got a real problem. So what do you do to triage right then and then get the kid back home? And then, of course, you work on your story as far as what really happened, because you can't tell mom and dad what you're really doing, because that would go badly. So, yeah, all those things had to happen as we were kids.
Maybe I might be convinced to keep RTD around just to train the next generation to be tougher.
Not a bad idea. I kind of like that.
There, you found it. All
There we
right,
go.
I'm
Finally
willing.
found
I'm
it today.
open to
Yes,
it.
finally.
All right, let's talk advanced hair restoration. Richard, we'll get to you. Stick around. If you're losing your hair, you need a simple solution that works. You want the best modern technology with top-rated physicians, something that's guaranteed to work. Guys, you need Dr. Tanya Pauls and her team at Advanced Hair. They've completely redefined hair restoration, from the experience itself to their unmatched results. You got a receding hairline, a bald spot, or thinning hair, address them all with Advanced Hair's simple one-day treatment in a calm, relaxed environment with the most experienced professionals. Advanced Hair has performed tens of thousands of these breakthrough treatments, and get this, your own natural hair begins to regrow the very next day. No one in Denver can offer anything like the Advanced FUE found at Advanced Hair. I highly recommend their team. It starts with your free consultation. Call 720-459-HAIR. 720-459-HAIR. If you qualify, you'll get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Refine your hairline with the team that's redefined hair restoration. Give them a call at 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. Advancedhair.com. We'll continue with your phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. This conversation, it's just so hot that we're going to keep with it.
Yeah, you guys are great.
So we have to go where the audience wants to take the show, which is why the show's totally different than everybody else.
Yep.
But RTD is planning to borrow $539 million for diesel buses. Its ridership's going down, down, down. The amount of money necessary to subsidize it is at the point where only 4% of the money to cover the costs for RTD comes from fares. 95+% of it comes from sales tax or grant. Now, this is the point. This is a perfect point. This comes from Kurt down in Colorado Springs. He texted me this, okay?
Yeah.
He ordered some filament for his 3D printer. So, of course, part of the tax to the tune of 1%, so $1.12 went to RTD. He ordered filament for a printer, and he had to pay a tax that's going to RTD. Like, my whole argument is, at this point, it's just a jobs program. We're paying for people to have jobs in public transportation because the thing can't sustain itself. And we're on the cusp of major technological breakthrough with regards to transportation. It's going to come from the free market. That's spending another $540 million on diesel buses is not worth it.
Yeah, the big question is, and we'll get to Richard here in a second, the big question is stop or fix. Do we shut down RTD, or do we look at trying to fix the system so it becomes more efficient? Jeff and I, earlier in the show, if you weren't able to join us, were able to find a couple of examples of efficient and profitable public transportation systems. Oddly enough, density seems to have a lot to do with it. Highly dense populations seem to be able to make mass transit profitable. Number one on the list, Japan. They've figured it out. Most of their public transportation systems are making 175% of operating profits.
And to your point, Bill, it's so dense that they have people with sticks that push you onto the trains.
Exactly. And in Europe, though, the only one we could find was the tube, the underground system in England. That's the only one out of all of Europe that we could find that is actually profitable. But again, that's a subway system that is focused on a highly dense, highly populated city. So is the problem that we have in RTD the fact that we're trying to help all of us in the suburbs? Are we the problem?
Well, and it just bothers me that Kurt, hardworking Kurt, buying filament for his 3D printer, has to subsidize somebody else's public transportation ride and ultimately job.
Yeah, for me, I'm not as worried about him subsidizing it because I think it has a role in the community because I think it's necessary. But what I get angry about is he is subsidizing a program and an entity that I view as being highly inefficient and unresponsive to the public's needs. I think that if they were a restaurant, they would have a hard time keeping the doors open because they don't understand always what the customers need. That's kind of my idea, that they're missing the boat.
Let's go to Richard in Denver. Richard, good morning. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Good morning. Thanks for your really provocative topics. Well, they're really relevant. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
I'm a writer. I live down here, downtown. I have for years. Yesterday, I'm on, 2 or 3 days ago, on the RTD bus and Colfax. Runs through town here. That's actually US 40. It's a federal highway, right? And they got, looks like bridge abutments in the middle of Colfax between York Street and Broadway. What they're doing, they're going to put the stops in the middle of, the 2-lane city road there.
Yeah.
You got to see them.
Yeah, this is the weird part is...
okay, and then another topic I want to hit on is you're talking about Muslims. I have nothing against all the religions, but I just got it yesterday kind of through church. They're hawking golf courses that they can't sell in the Midwest to Muslims, really. A really good golf course is contiguous to Peoria County, Illinois. And they kind of knew all about it, and they had a hard time selling it. And I believe they're probably trying to sell it. It's not very far from Peoria, Illinois.
Huh. Now, Richard, hang on, Richard, got a question. I want to go back to buses here for just a second here. So you were seeing the Colfax, that's, I think, the 15 line, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's right.
You're seeing that, yeah. Now, run up and down there what they're looking at in theory, and I want your impressions of this. is they're trying to create dedicated bus lanes inside of the street. And that's what you're seeing. And so the idea being, much like on 16th Street Mall, you would have these buses running up and down Colfax all the time. And they're thinking that it would help. Jeff and I have talked about the idea of increasing the availability of the buses on high trafficked arteries and veins inside the city can bring a lot of positivity to the idea of having more riders, everything else. The problem I have with the construction on Colfax is you're going to shrink the size of the street. You're going to make it much less efficient for other cars. Now, I'm of the personal opinion that's an intended, not unintended, that's an intended consequence from RTD. They want to make it more difficult for you to run your car up and down Colfax. They don't care. They're not looking at expanding the size of the street or running it above or below. They want to make sure that it's more. So do you think, Richard, with your experience down there, do you think a dedicated bus lane that runs more often is going to be a net positive or a net negative, both for traffic but also for ridership, more importantly? What do you think?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't be able to judge, but it's an important point, though. That is a U.S. highway through town, though. It's actually the national road, but people forgot about it. It went. They had to terminate, or they didn't terminate it. They ran out of funds for it when they were started building it after the Revolution, and it only went through, I think, into Illinois.
Yeah. Now,
but anyway, that's just my issue on it. But
now, Richard, when you're
I think they ought to. People want jobs. A good job would be they better tear up Colfax and put a subway in through there or something else. But it's not very wide.
Yeah, it isn't.
Sidewalks are in close, and then there's the stores, and that's a problem.
Yeah, and you can't push those
otherwise
stores
you'd
back.
reroute the buses or something. Hey, another thing is, guy told me they're going to try to put a new bus line in from High Street north, across Colfax from Cheeseman Park on north. Probably no into it, but that's apparently possibly online. And
I wonder what the ridership there is. I can see why moving people through there, but I wonder if the volume is.
It's a good. And people are not too bad on it. The drivers are always pretty nice, but the money in RTD is questionable. I mean, it's too much, and that it's a problem. But there's not very many Americans working on it. I mean, Mexican Americans are Americans, and they like the jobs. But what about so-called white people? I mean. It's potentially a really positive jobs program, I believe, more than it really is if they do it according to, the American way and all the rest of it.
Hey, thanks, Richard. Appreciate that, man. Thanks for the phone call.
Bill, are you like a savant that knows all the lines? Like, are you kind of remind me of like Rain Man in the sense of like, I could like, but like,
the thing is,
pick off a line that's just. What's line 43? I just throw a number out there, and you'd be like, "Oh, it runs
where's 43? I know 42, but I can't think 43." The thing is, again, I had to navigate this as a kid, and they haven't changed the routes. That's the crazy thing. And so these conversations this morning are bringing back a lot of these memories about, oh yeah, that's the number of this one, that's the number of this one. I understand how often it runs. And in fact, I could probably go back if we were looking at the 80s and 90s. I could probably tell you during that time when some of these buses would ride, because some of them are going to roll on the 15s when other ones are going to roll in the top and the bottoms. So you're going to be 15 and 45, you're going to roll at the 30 in the top, and it depends on the crossing. And so some of them, like one of the things that was problematic was that the 10 and the 15 sometimes weren't always lined up. And so there were times in which they wouldn't sequence, and so there were issues going from one to the other. Yeah. But again, I spent a lot of time on the buses.
Like, you would be really good at the Amazing Race. Really good at it.
I might be. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe.
They should put the two of us on it. I don't think.
We could probably, Although, here's the thing is, at one point or another during the Amazing Race, I'm going to be so tired you're going to have to carry me. So I'm just saying, start doing some squats, because it's not going to be pretty, my friend. Not going to be pretty.
Let's talk Guy Reed's. Guys, we have been thrilled, absolutely thrilled with our Hunter Douglas custom blinds, shades, and shutters. Let me tell you what the Hunt family did prior to this. We used kind of measure it yourself and order blinds from some online service, and then it would come, and then we'd have to pull it down, and it'd be really heavy, and oftentimes those strands would break at a certain point, so the blinds wouldn't even really work. And yes, we saved money, but it was disastrous. So my wife and I went into Guy Reed's recently. They've got locations all over Denver, and sat down with a custom professional designer. So somebody sat there and worked with us through all this. So we weren't just left to internet research on our own. And then they came out to our house and brought samples and paint colors. And this wasn't crazy expensive, guys. It's not like, custom, Beverly Hills design costs. These were reasonable design costs, and they helped us figure out the perfect style and the remote control. In fact, I can control my blinds with my phone. They have an app. It's awesome, especially if you have those windows that are kind of far away and you can't really reach them. We've been thrilled. Hunter Douglas custom blinds, shades, and shutters coming from Guy Reese. It's been a great experience. You can have a personalized in-home consultation as well. Expert advice right there in your own home. So do yourself a favor. Get started today. Visit Guy Reese to schedule your in-home consultation. That's GUIRYS.com. They don't just do Hunter Douglas custom blinds, shades, and shutters. They do paint. They do full home decor. Get that personalized attention. And guys, involve your wife with this, and she will love you for it because your home's going to look better. She can ask tons of questions and get that guidance, and you can just let them go and run with it. GuyReese.com, GUIRYS.com, GuyReese.com. Go see the great people there. You'll be sure to thank me. All right, we'll continue. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Appeals Court rules for Colorado and LGBTQ rights and against Catholic parishes in state preschool case. That's the headline at Chalkbeat, Colorado. They write, preschoolers with LGBTQ parents or who identify as LGBTQ can't be shut out of religious preschools that are part of Colorado's state-funded preschools program. Federal Appeals Court ruled last week. The decision, which upholds a key part of a lower court decision, represents a major win for the state, they write, and a defeat for two area Catholic preschools at the center of the case. Tuesday's decision provides the latest answer to a question being asked in several cases percolating in state and federal courts. Can private religious schools that accept public education dollars refuse to enroll certain kids based on religious principles? Along with the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals, a Maine federal district court, and a Utah state court are among those who have said no. It is possible that the U.S. Supreme Court could eventually weigh in, though it's not clear which case will advance to the High Court. In its 54-page ruling, the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals wrote that it found no proof that the Colorado Department of Early Childhood took actions that, quote, evidence religious hostility, unquote, as the two Catholic preschools claimed. The state's universal preschool program went to great efforts to be welcoming to and inclusive of faith-based preschool participation. The three-judge panel also found that the Early Childhood Development, which runs the preschool program, has applied the state's non-discrimination policy in a neutral way to both religious and non-religious preschools. The policy bars preschools in the universal preschool program from discriminating based on a variety of factors, including sexual orientation and gender identity. State officials cited the policy in denying the Catholic preschools a waiver that would have allowed them to keep LGBTQ children or children from LGBTQ families from enrolling if the preschools had joined the state-funded preschool program. In a statement last week, Governor Jared Polis said, "We are building a Colorado for all," blah, blah, yeah, right, where every student is free from discrimination, and this voter-approved initiative continues to enroll approximately 70% of all eligible 4-year-olds each school year, and many faith-based and secular providers are operating terrific preschools that serve parents and children as well. Tuesday's ruling essentially upholds the status quo in the universal preschool program, meaning that participating preschools can't shut out LGBTQ children or children with LGBTQ parents. So I originally read this bill and thought to myself, okay, well, should they be allowed to discriminate against LGBTQ? And when you first read it, I think a person's natural inclinations go, discrimination, well, bad. And then I started to kind of reflect on it and go, all right, well, would I want to mandate that a Jewish preschool welcome Muslim families if they're going to be participating in the state program? Or would I feel like it's perfectly acceptable to go, hey, we're a Jewish school for Jewish kids, and we'd like to participate in this program? I'd probably go, no, I don't see anything fine with that. I don't think a Catholic family or Protestant family or Muslim family should be able to force their way into Jewish schools just because they participate in the state preschool case. So on one hand, I go, well, discrimination. Oh, that, it seems terrible. On the other hand, I go, well, they're religious schools. They're naturally going to be discriminatory. That's every religion's discriminatory in some capacity. So Jews believe only Jews are going to heaven. Muslims believe only Muslims are going to heaven. Christians believe only Christians are going to heaven. So they're going to educate their kids in that. And part of the prerequisite of most religious schools that you go to is that you're going to abide by the religion that you're going to the school of. Our kids go to private Christian schools, and we had to sign a waiver saying that our kids are going to abide and live by Christian ethics. So if we're not going to allow those schools to be able to practice their faith, then is the state being discriminatory against these people because of their religion? Your thoughts on this, sir?
Well, for me, there's no requirements that the state is saying you have to do X, Y, and Z unless you want to take state funding. And so at that point, there becomes a change. And I think that would be fair. And the idea of, like, going back to our previous conversation, a private entity that came up that wanted to replace a portion of the bus line or be a different transportation wouldn't have to necessarily service the entire metro community. They could focus on small pockets. Would that be discriminatory based on the model of RTD? Yes, it possibly could. But based on what they're doing, no, because it would be private. However, if they started taking public funding, now you have a greater question about accessibility in my mind. The idea for me still is, and again, it's that weird thing with charter schools, which I think is a huge advantage for charter schools, is they get to choose their own students, where public schools do not. If you live in the district, the public school has to take you. And we do have open enrollment in Colorado, but that's all predicated on the current student load at the school. Meaning that if you wanted to go to Cherry Creek High School, all of the people in the district that wanted to sign up for Cherry Creek High School had to sign up first. And if, and only if, there are any extra seats available, then they allow open enrollment. If you're outside of the school district and you want to go to Cherry Creek High School, they do not have to take you. And even that wouldn't necessarily be discriminatory. But that's the idea, is once you're at public education, if you're in the district, they have to take you. Versus private education, they don't have to take you at all. And there are all sorts of rules, as you outlined, taking your kids to a private Christian school. There are all sorts of rules about what they have to do and what they don't have to do. Like even with public education, there are some requirements on getting the kids to school that your current high school for your kids doesn't have to abide by. And the question that I always have is, if we are going to allow the private institutions to also get the public taxpayer money, shouldn't they also then have to play by the same rules? And what I mean by that would be, if the private Christian school where your kids go and they start deriving public school funding, shouldn't they also then have to compete on the same level and provide public school busing? Shouldn't they also have to provide public school lunches? Yeah, but I think they should, because I think it evens the playing ground.
But here's the deal. Yeah. If you're a Christian family, if you're a Jewish family, or if you're a Muslim family, and you want your kids to be educated according to your values, you now pay twice. We all pay our public tax dollars that go to our government-run schools, and then we get to pay extra because, God forbid, we want to raise our kids with religious values. So the deciding factor becomes religion. You are going to be punished for wanting to raise your kids according to religious values.
But Colorado Academy and Kent aren't necessarily religious, and they're private. So it's not always the same.
Right, but my point being that there's actually built-in form of punishment against families that want to educate their kids according to religious values. We'll continue this conversation. We'd love for you to join us. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
We'll be right back. This is 710 KNUS.